moments.
Wendell,
Yeah.
but I have a whole lot to discuss on this reopening plan, and if we wait just a few more minutes, because he just lives down the road, and that way he can hear it too.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'm sorry, but there's going to be a lot of information here that you want, and it just
No problem.
Yeah.
Can we go ahead and look at this meetings from the last minute or last meeting?
Sure.
You want us to read this reopening plans?
Well, what we'll do, yes, I'll have it approved or ask for approval on Thursday, but I'll give it to you today, and that way you can read all of it. We're going to each give you a synopsis of our areas.
Okay.
During the day, just kind of everybody can hear and give you a feel in, but that is the total plan. I was going to say we are I'm very pleased with my central office staff. We have worked since May trying to get something with every minute changing of laws and rules. We're narrowed it down. This is a living document, so things after we approve it, just know that things will be changed as the new directions are given to us. But we have a whole lot of information in there, and it's done with a lot of people. We each had groups. We call them in and from the schools, and each group will come up and bring their stuff. And basically, we had to break them down in groups from schools of different people because we could never get anything done if we didn't have the specialized areas of people working on it. I will have the principals come in tomorrow. I'm going to share with them the plan. I've shared a little bit with them. Last week was Jody did instruction. I think Shannon was some safety. Sherry was mental health. Jason's been working with technology. Ashley's been working with facilities and operations. So we've been meeting them in groups. We're just going to get everybody, the administrators together tomorrow and kind of go over with them point blank, the very minute things for each one of them. Then they will take it back to their schools and start working on it in the PDs.
All right. All right. You still want us to just wait, not to start the meeting then? Just wait.
We can move on down to the next one. That's fine. But it's kind of hard. This is a special call meeting. But so we can just go ahead and start, and I'll start, and anything. Mr. Howard will be here in just a second because on a special call meeting, we can't change the agenda anyway. So let's just go ahead and run with it because there'll be a whole lot of information there he could read.
Oh, sure. All right. With that said, if everyone's ready, we will start the meeting. And Mr. Burrow, if there are some other things you want to say or want to just kind of be at
okay.
recess or however you want to do it. I'll put this in your hands.
Well, on Thursday, I'm just going to go first off in today's meeting down below on today's agenda. I have approved amending the school calendar. At this time, I think we're at a point where we know August 3rd is going to be kind of too early to tell because they even pushed back athletics to August 3rd before they even make a new recommendation. So I'm going to recommend that we go to the variable calendar that the state allows us to do and we look to start right now on August 6th. To be able to pay our people on our August 15th day, we have figured it out. We have front loaded the rest of their days. They're going to have 4 professional learning days and 4 PD days and 2 parent teacher days and 1 opening day to move in front of August 26th. And it's going to, that way the teachers and staff and classified and certified will all start August 3rd and start working back towards August 26th. There's going to be a whole lot of communication, a whole lot with the parents, a whole lot of communication in PD with our staff, because we will be, and this, you'll see on our going on, we're working on purchasing a new online platform classes. We're not going to be caught in the middle of, okay, if we're in a long time NTI and we're at home, David and I have been discussing, we had a whole bunch of money set aside for an online class platform So every kid be able, if we're home all the time, a teacher don't have to make up something all the time. They'll be placed in the online platform, and unlimited seats will basically for every kid. They will have an online service, and roughly it's going to be around $30,000. Well, but to be able to get that done for our students and our teachers and our classified, to be able to work with a kid and not kill himself and be online from 8 to 3. If they don't have online, then they'll have work again. We'll work with another thing. We'll discuss that in a little bit. But changing it and being able to get PD on our new platform, things need to be front loaded. If this is front loaded, everybody works those 11 days up front. Everybody in this district will get their August 15th paycheck and their August 30th. There won't be a whole lot of room for extra at the back side, but we had to get, and we've been gone 9 weeks anyway. We missed 9 weeks of school. There needs to be a whole lot of planning, and NTI is not going to look the same as we got thrown in it in March. We've been planning a whole lot more this summer to make a difference. So I am going to be asking you today to amend our calendar, amend our calendar to go to variable calendar and move our start date to August 26th. I will next kind of share with you what that will look like on August 26th. After approval on Thursday, if you do so to approve, I will be posting a flyer out there on Facebook. If Chrissy, can you pull that up for me? If you, there it is. This is what our reopening, this is a synopsis of what we're going to do. Just kind of give you an idea. This is not the hours, this is the final, just a real bit of overview of our hours and hours of planning we have done. The two main options when we go back to school is, I'm going to let, around 30, a third of our kids, the parents have said they're going to keep their kids home. If they keep our kids home, that many, that loosens up some teachers at the school. So we're going to either have, then the schools are going to dictate online virtual academy teachers, where that's all they work with is those kids, and in-person teachers. I didn't want a teacher to have to do in person and go home and then work with NTI and be on work for all night and all day because of both kind of like we did. So with third of them not being at school, it kind of splits it up, gives it enough where you can dictate which one. And this is the plan. But basically, if you look at these plans, this is going to stop it. But I'm going to have each one of my staff members here, all 7, I'm kind of giving a little bit overview what made up this whole plan of ours. You have the plan in front of you that you can read at home. If you have any questions, read on Thursday, it's fine. But remember, this plan is going to be a living document because things change. We got to change with it. But as far as I can tell you, there's a lot of people asking us what we do in our plan because we've been working on it hard. There's people still not doing much of anything with theirs. But just to let you know, 2 types on August 26th, if you approve this going to the variable calendar, we'll have in-person 5 days a week. It basically says your child will attend school every day adhering to safety guidelines and measures. The other part, the law states, if the parent or guardian chooses virtual academy, your child will attend classes virtually, maintaining a regular daily class schedule, complete core classes through a digital platform, and communicate regularly with virtual academy teachers. If this option is chosen, they still will not participate in extracurricular activities to maintain that healthy environment chosen by the parent. But there will be a review process for all ADA regulations. So those are the 2 types of deals we have. Can you move it up, Chris, move it down a little bit? There you go. And the 2 things I want to discuss on this, because I know other people are going to be talking about a lot of these on here. The big question I've been heard, and everybody wants to know about masks. We have to have masks, but I want everybody to listen that everyone will be asked to wear a mask while in our buildings this fall. But The classrooms will be set up for social distance because we got 30% of the kids staying home. That way, the goal is that the students will be able to remove their masks while they are seated at their desk because they're spread out far enough. Kindergartners and below are not allowed to wear a mask. So just kind of clear up some things that the state guidelines have told us, but you'll hear more from everybody in just a second. But that part, that's the two main things I think everybody's worried about is masks. Well, we have to, but per health departments, per state, governor, commissioners, CDCs, we have to have the mask, but they have given us rubrics, and if with less people not at school, we can adjust and take desks out and make that work where there's enough people. And if they're far enough, they don't have to have that mask on all day. If they're walking in the halls, going to classes, they put it on till they get to the next class. Middle and elementary are looking to keep the kids in the same class and the teachers rotate. There's a whole lot of things we're going to discuss here in just a second for this plan. Now I'm going to call on, I guess I'll go down the list, and I want like my folks that helped work on this because we all had parts to it. Let's go with Shannon. You want to discuss the healthy part with it? Miss Shannon has left the meeting. Let's see if she got back on. How about Jody? Go ahead, Jody, if you're on here.
Yes, sir. We have met and been talking about what instruction will look like through both lenses, the in-person and the virtual academy. We are looking for what curriculum would be the most beneficial to align with standards and student-friendly user along with teacher-friendly. So we're doing a lot of research as we move forward with that. We've been focusing on the ideas of we need to assess students as they come back to see if they have any gaps of academics from where we were in NTI at the end of the school year. So we're looking at what would that look like in each situation. And we are looking at those days, if you approve the calendar, to have those 11 days prior to students beginning, then how can we utilize those days to help prepare our teachers and support them so we can move forward with the best instruction and academics for our students. So I think we're on a good start. Of course, we're meeting with Mr. Burrow regularly as he tells us updates and things as they change. But I think we have a plan, and we're trying to think through the what ifs when it comes to instruction. And so far, talking with the principals that were here for our instructional meeting the other day, everyone's working hard and thinking forward and has the best intentions, and everyone's in problem solving mode to figure this out. So I feel really confident that we're going to come up with a way to do this that really benefits children. Anything else specific, Mr. Burrow, you want me to mention?
Do you want to discuss a little bit about the virtual academy, because it's going to be new?
Okay. If our numbers are as high as they're looking from the initial survey we sent out, we're looking for each school to figure out a schedule within their building to maximize their certified and classified staff for instructional purposes. So if they can pull a couple teachers, according to the size of the school, of course, that can focus specifically on the students choosing virtual academy, then we feel like they'll have a greater focus, be able to get together more engaging instruction. We want to use some of our PD time before school starts to get the elementary people that are going to be working with this together so they can possibly look at the resources and platforms that we're able to provide them, but also be able to collaborate together on building the instructional units if there are things that need to be built that aren't in the platform, and just let them work together so they have someone to talk to and figure out how to solve more problems as they arrive. And they don't feel like they're on an island and alone. We want them to have support from each other and from us. So the virtual students, our goal would be that they are working on a very similar class schedule from 8 to 3. I know back in the spring, we had a lot of teachers going above and beyond and answering texts and emails at 10 o'clock at night from students. And that was really hard for our teachers. And we want our teachers to be able to focus on one type of instruction so that we'll be able to get more effective instruction for our students. So this way, the teachers that have the in-person students can put all their focus on the children in front of them, and the virtual academy teachers can put all their focus on the students they're working with virtually and communicating.
And during that 8 to 3, I mean, just to let you know, if a student doesn't contact their virtual teacher or online working with them, basically during that time, it's just like a regular school day where they have to turn in a sick day or a doctor's note. Because, I mean, a lot of times we were catching up with kids we haven't seen in a couple weeks during this last 9 weeks. We want to make it as normal as a school day as possible. That's why we're doing that. Shannon, welcome back.
Yes, sorry about that. I went to unmute my mic and hit the hang up button. So forgive me for that. My section is on the healthy at school and work. And really, we've taken all the CDC guidelines and the health department guidelines and try to apply them. And what I've tried to get across to everyone is the more things that we have in place, when we do have a positive case in our schools, the less people are going to be ranked in that high risk of exposure category. Because if you have a high risk or moderate risk, then you will end up being self-quarantined by the health department. So our goal is to lower our risk of exposure so that we don't have, a whole wing or a whole block of teachers that have to be self-quarantined, because if that's the case, we'll have to shut school down. So the more things that we have in place, if and when there is an exposure, that's going to protect us to be able to continue business as usual. But in my first section, it talks about the social distancing and the requirements there. The number of students and the staff requirements. Again, it's just the capacity that's allowed to gather. The traffic in the building, trying to keep one-way traffic, because when you have people crossing face-to-face in the hallways, if someone does cough or sneeze or anything, then there's more contact with those water droplets. Then we have a section on the PPE, which will be required by all employees and the students, unless, of course, they have a medical exemption submitted to the office as to not be able to wear that. It also talks about if there is a suspected or a confirmed case. If there is a case, a positive case in our district, of course, that would have been carried out by a healthcare professional, and so they would report that to the health department. The health department would then start the contact tracing, and the health department would be the ones that would be able to release them to come back to work. So at that point, it's pretty much in the hands of the health department and those contact tracers as to who has to be isolated or quarantined, and then when they would be allowed to come back. And then it just talks about, cleaning procedures, which goes into more depth in the facilities section. But that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Mr. Troutman, you want to discuss the facility?
Lindsay.
Sure, I'll be glad to. So yes, I will start with facilities. And with the facilities, we certainly are aware that there are going to be some changes and lots of things in the way things look. Temperature checks with touchless thermometers for all students, staffs, and visitors at the point of school entry. It goes over temperatures of 104 or greater is one of the exclusion criteria. Talks about that if someone is sent home with a fever, they have to stay out for 72 hours without a fever, fever-free. We are installing plexiglass in all the areas where our front office workers are communicating with people, and putting those also at the cafeteria registers. In the area of school safety, continuing to ensure that our PPE is available for students and staff, whether that be in the form of disposable mask, gloves, hand sanitizer will be stationed in all of your main entrances and foyers and front offices, and should be in most classrooms. Mr. Burrow alluded, talking about when masks would be worn by students. Anytime you're moving around the building, there would be a mask, but we're in hopes of being able to set up the classrooms to ensure that social distancing will take place, and it looks like we will, based on the responses we've had of the amount of students that plan to not come in person starting the school year. Also, kind of a part of the school safety thing, we are still required to do all of our normal safety drills, whether it be fire drills, tornado drills, lockdown drills, but we have to do that in a way that's going to look a little different, continuing practicing social distancing. The Center of School Safety suggested altering classes when you do those drills, so that the entire school's not going out when it's just a drill. So a fire drill would look like, I'm just going to use the middle school for example. If we do a fire drill, one classroom in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, because they're on different wings, would go out when that class got done, and they would rotate to another class. We realized that cleaning the building is going to look a little different. Some of the things that we have been doing, we've still got the same amount of custodians, and the buildings are still the same size. So they're going to have to change some of their practices to ensure that they're getting what's considered as your high touch surfaces disinfected daily. And on some of these places, we've come up with schedules that it actually be hourly. So some of the sweeping or dusting of floors that's something they may have been used to doing on a daily basis, may be something that's moved back to a once a week basis, because they're just going to have to shift their time doing more disinfected things in those areas with high surface contact. We understand that work schedules may need to be altered. The immediate supervisor would be able to do that if the need arises. We look in the area of transportation. There's been lots of things laid out for us in transportation, and we will make sure that all students on a bus we're led with the guidance that all students on a bus would wear a mask if they're not able to social distance. They had suggested loading the bus from back to front so that students are not walking past other students. Drivers would also be wearing the mask. Once the student got off the bus at the school, again, the temperature check would have to take place. Cleaning supplies are now being suggested to be on a bus, hand sanitizer being one of them. And at the end of the route, they would remove that just because of the high temps that's very possible during the daytime, in August and September. So getting that stuff off so nothing happens to those materials. And then they have provided us, each school bus manufacturer has provided their details for cleaning and disinfecting a school bus. So we'll be asking our bus drivers at the end of each route to do some deep cleaning of all those seats. Also, under the area, we understand that because we're having two different types of instruction, it could be in in school, or it could be the virtual. Attendance is going to look different. I know we're looking and trying to have the students that's on virtual to try to encourage them to do that from the hours of 8 to 3. In the event that they're not on between those hours of 8 to 3, it would almost be like they were in school. They either have to have a parent note or a doctor's note for that absence.
Mr. Troutman,
Yes.
what temperature did you say if it was above that they would have to go home?
It's 100.4. If it's above 100.4.
Okay, I thought you said 104. Thank you.
100.4. If it's 100.5, they have to go home.
Okay.
Any other specific questions?
Just want to confirm, we are not checking temperature as they get on buses. Is that correct?
Mr. Riggs, as of right now, we are not going to do that. We have the option now for them to, the parents to be able to verify that they checked their child's temperature before they got on the school bus, but of course they would still have to be checked once they got to the point of entry at school.
Okay. The only reason I thought if we were going to make it, it might be that we could enter them on a different site since they'd already been checked for temperature. Since we're not, it still it needs to be done. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Let me ask something. But if they do, after they get here, something does happen that they do have some temperature, what are you going to do then?
I can answer that one, Ms. Joyce. Now,
Okay.
here's the thing. There's two scenarios. If a kid comes up to the bus stop and little Johnny's sitting at the bus stop and has a temperature,
Uh-huh.
you cannot send him home because parents may not be there. If something happens, that's negligence.
Okay.
We have to give him a mask, isolate him on the bus, get him to school, and isolate him in a sick room. They will. Anybody that has a fever or has symptoms during the day will be. Each school would have to have a designated COVID-19 room. A parent will have to come and get them, and that child will not ride the bus home.
Okay.
So, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
And also, there would be a lot of contact tracings, and they would testing to make sure we'll follow all of our protocols and that. But we have a whole lot of people with Deanna's and the health department's been working with this plan. So, I'm going to next ask. Let's ask Melody. How about food service? What's your plans on that part? Are you on? I can't see.
I'm on.
Okay.
I'm currently working with each individual school to meet the serving needs for all of our students. Each school will be different based on the number of students or the availability of places we have to feed the kids. So we are looking at some multiple meal service methods that would work for each location, such as serving in the classroom, serving meals in other areas outside the cafeteria, such as the gymnasium, doing some kind of grab and go option, possibly in the morning. They go straight to the when they get checked in, go to their classrooms and eat the breakfast there. Serve food to the children, let them take it outside where they can spread out more. We have more students outside. We're still limited on 50 people in a space, even though some of our cafeterias, we can actually fit more students in there, but we can't go over that 50 mark right now. So we're trying to get all the kids fed at one time without, at each of their service times. So we're just looking at those different options. We are looking at providing meals for our virtual learners as a pickup option, possibly doing a Google form and letting us know who's going to come pick up meals each day. We are going to limit our options of food that we are serving. At the high school, on some days there's up to 6 different meal options they can pick from. Well, we're going to drop that back down to 2 or 3 options. But we are also an offer versus serve district where we offer all the components, but the students have to take a minimum of 3 components for the meal. We're going to serve them all the components. so that will help speed up the lines to get the kids seated so that they can eat and move on, and we can bring the next group in. But there won't be any self-service. Our high school, middle school students, they self-serve a lot of their fruits and vegetables. They pick up their own milk. We have to eliminate that altogether. So we're going to pack lunches on disposable trays, use disposable utensils, pack anything to go. If they're going to eat in their classroom, if they're going to eat outside, pack it. If we're delivering it to an area, in those, any kind of to-go type of containers. Our staff will be doing extra cleaning and sanitizing between serving the different classes or the lunch services, especially like the high-touch surfaces that Mr. Troutman mentioned, definitely hitting those areas to try to keep the students and staff safe.
What about the ones that would be on virtual? Are we going to try to supply food for them?
Yes, sir. We are going to offer all virtual learners the option of picking up meals.
Picking them up. Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out something where possibly if there's a high school student in Livermore, they're not driving all the way to the high school to pick up meals. Can I figure out a way to make it work, to pick up at the elementary school?
Sure.
So we are going to offer that. Hopefully I can use the Google Doc so we don't prepare a lot of meals and then people don't show up to pick up as well.
Right. Okay. That sounds good.
Anybody else with any questions?
I suppose not. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Billy. How about Sherry? What do you have for us?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. My committee addressed the area of mental wellness, and this applied to staff, students, and our families of our students. And as we know, through this time that when we resume school, we're going to have kids and families and staff that have been impacted with the COVID-19, whether they've been sick or been associated with someone that's been sick or lost loved ones. We know we probably have families that have lost jobs. And we know from last spring and starting this fall that we definitely were creating a new normal for teachers, and it could be stressful as well. So the committee that was overseeing mental wellness is looking at addressing the social and emotional needs of our students and our staff. So some of the discussion that we've talked about is the need for communicating with families and parents up front to kind of establish what the new expectations are, to alleviate some fears so that our parents and our students can feel comfortable with what learning is going to look like in school or virtually, and how we will meet the needs of those kids that maybe need the hugs and kisses, that we're going to have to develop new ways to teach kids to interact with peers and adults for expressing their needs and their emotions, since we can't be physically close anymore. We talked about utilizing our videos and our internet platforms for pushing out strategies for coping, teaching parents what the expectations will be so that they can go ahead and be discussing with their children before they come to school. Also, on the flip side, talking about addressing the needs of our staff as well. So we might have to use things like a sensory room or a safe room for our students or staff if they just need somewhere to go and debrief or get their self composed. We also talked about the needs of our students who will be learning virtually, because basically since March, they have been removed from that social interaction. So our teachers that will be working with them virtually may want to think outside the box to provide opportunities for them to socialize with their peers, giving them an opportunity for a Google Meet or Facebook live stream where their in-class students can interact with the virtual students. And the other thing that we talked about, it'll be important to go ahead, teachers be looking at those kids that might struggle when they come back, and have a checklist of questions that they might ask just to check on how they're doing and how they're handling, so that we can be proactive in addressing any issues or behaviors that might arise as a result of the situation. In the plan, there were also several resources that were included with the links so that staff and families alike would have access to those as well. Any questions?
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Sherry. How about Jason and your group?
All right. This summer, we've done a lot of infrastructure work inside the district, from upgrading all the links, all the internet links from the state down to us, and also between all of our buildings. We're also looking at upgrading our network infrastructure at every building. One of the big things is that there's going to be a Chromebook available for every student in our district. So essentially we'll be one-to-one kindergarten through 12th grade. So that eliminates having to share devices or even having to go to computer labs to get onto a shared device. Our content filtering has been upgraded this summer. It's going to, even though we go ahead and we content filter all of our Chromebooks that go home, the new device will provide a more robust system so that we can actually monitor a little more closely and also be able to track devices. One of the things that when I met with my my technology staff at the school levels, one of the things they talked about was having some sort of help desk so that the students and parents could call in if they're having an issue with a school-owned device. So we're going to look at creating something for them to be able to contact us. And one of the other things that we talked about was that we have to come up with a two-way communication between the student and teacher and parent and teacher, because everybody was using multiple platforms and it was getting confusing. Especially, and I'll give you an example. Of course, my kids attend Hopkins County, and we were having to check 5 different platforms for communication between the teacher and our student and us. So we were having the same issue here in McLean County. So we're going to try to get a two-way communication that's consistent throughout the district. And then the other thing, I've been working with Miss Lindsay about developing an interactive digital self-screening tool so that when staff enter into the building, they'll have a interactive form that they can use to record their temperature and any symptoms that they might have related to COVID-19. And of course, technology is always changing, and with the virtual stuff, it'll change almost daily. Anybody have any questions for me?
Jason, how many did we do good on getting the books back in last year?
Yes, we did. We still have a few out. I know Calhoun was doing a summer reading program. So I know they had that program going on. And there were some other classes going on at the high school, but yes, we've collected probably 98% of them.
Okay, I was just curious if we got most of them back.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. And
Thank you, Jason.
but not least, David, Finance Department of this, our plan.
Thank you, Mr. Burrow. I believe that they put me at the bottom of this thing because my part's stated simply, but maybe not done simply. It's basically, here's all we're doing. Let's find a way to pay for it. So for the finance perspective, the main thing that we're wanting to look at is how can we protect our taxpayers' funds and most efficiently provide the best quality instruction that we can for our students. So that's the main purpose, is to find funding for this and to do it the most efficient way. Some other specific finance areas that we've looked at is continuing to, we try to have a payroll meeting every 15-day period. We need to continue to do those to make sure that if we're having people on leave or on FMLA or sick, that we're continuing to communicate that to each other. I've talked with American Fidelity, with our representative, and I have discussed plans with them. Part of finance is compliance with IRS, and American Fidelity provides us our Section 125 benefits. That would be like vision and dental and cancer insurance policies, etc. Well, they come in and meet with every employee every year. So we're already working on plans on what if our employees are working remote, or if some are remote and some are not. So we're looking at a kind of a hybrid version of meeting the Section 125 for the IRS and providing benefits for our employees. One other area we looked at is trying to do more contact-free payments. Haven't found a financially feasible or time feasible method for that yet, because collecting payments like by credit cards, it's pretty expensive software, and considering all the money that we're trying to spend, I'd rather spend that on the kids than on software. And basically we're talking about lunchroom fees or class fees. So that's finance in an overall. Is we know this thing's going to be expensive. Let's try to do the best job we can at protecting our taxpayers' dollars.
But we also, David, don't we have two ways we get reimbursed back some of this stuff?
Yes, sir. So we've got 2 extra grants, and then we also have the FEMA option, and then of course we have our contingency, and that's the contingency is probably going to eat a lot of the costs here, which is a good reason to have one. It's for a rainy day, and we all know it's raining. We do have a little over $300,000 in CARES money. The ESSER fund, which is elementary and secondary school emergency relief, we're going to have about $305,000. And in the GEARS fund, which is the governor's emergency education relief, we have $52,000. So those are bridge funds. They're to help us try to get from normal through the pandemic back to when we get to normal. But as I said, it's not going to be anywhere close to that. Contingency is going to eat a lot of our expenses here. But everything that contingency eats, I am keeping a track of, and I will be requesting FEMA assistance for everything that is allowable. FEMA, the formula is we pay and then request reimbursement. Federal FEMA gives you 75% back. The state is supposed to give you 13%, and then the district would eat the remaining 12%. The KDE has already told us to prepare to not receive any of the 13% from the state, because the state funds are being absorbed faster than they're coming in. So anything that we can get reimbursed for, I will try to, but it will reimburse us for probably 75% of what we're paying for it, which is still better than nothing. So,
Yeah,
Right.
much better.
Thank you, David. Any question for David?
Thank you for fighting it, Dave.
Thank you.
You're working with me, Dave.
Just to let you know that this has been going on for a long time, work in progress and the changes, and we wanted to present the community and yourself a plan that has been, we feel like is one of the thoroughest around. So I think we have done a really good job. I want to say it is living, and also I have told our principals this. Just because we plan, and things may have to change as a day goes, because we don't know how it's going to, but here's how we're going to start out. We have a plan to start out. Then we go to the next. I wanted to kind of touch base on it, just to let you know, if a parent opts to keep a kid on a virtual academy, they will be in it for 30 days, I mean, for a semester. They can't go back and forth because that just messes up scheduling, messes up teachers. If they decide to stay on virtual academy, they're there to December. We're not going to have sports jumping. So we're going all the way to December with the virtual academy. At the semester's end, if they wish to come back, they can. So it basically helps out with virtual teachers and in-person teachers. That's where we want to go. If they're on virtual academy, it's basically core classes and graduation classes. It's not a lot of extra there, but they're going to get the main focus of what they need. So we got a plan in place to start. Just know we probably will. If one school may have to change, another 4 don't, or vice versa. So it's something we know there's going to be changes as we go, but we have a very thorough plan to start out the school with. And this is what, and that you have the whole packet that you can read it. And on Thursday, I recommend that you approve our plan. Any questions?
I commend all the people that sit down to try to do this. There's a lot for us to see on it, and we have no idea how much information that all of you had to go through to build and develop this. So I want to thank everyone that was involved on this.
I would like to second that too. I appreciate you.
Mr. Burrow?
Yes, I have one more thing that I'm just going to share with you that we may have, the high school may have to do. There's a National Federated High School Network. We're so used to our YouTube having football and basketball games on there. Some it was free. We're holding off. We're waiting to see what the next KHSAA's guidelines. There's talk that there may not be fans or reduced fans at ball games. If that happens and we are allowed to play and fans are not allowed to come, our high school and our middle schools athletics and our school budgets will be destroyed. No gate, no concession will be destroyed. The National Federation High School Network is a program. It's robotic 2-camera system, and they're dropping it down to $2,500, which is high school is looking to get. But also, if fans can't come to the games, that will kill the high school. This will allow them, there may be a charge of $10.99 a month or $69 a year, where every home game will now be, every sports home game could be done. And it's cheaper to the parents than going to 4 home games a week and have to pay for them and their family and their kids. But for $10.99, they get to watch everything. So, and also through this program, it will help fund the high school loss if we go into no fans or limited fans. They could do sponsorship to get some money back to help fund the sport, the athletic program. So there will no longer be the YouTube free. It would be a payment for the people to watch, but it is also, that payment is cheaper than the people going to the games because they're not getting the concession and they're not getting the gate anymore. So this is going to let you know we're waiting to see what the next statement is. But if that's the case, the high school is going to look at that. I believe, because I know of being a former AD and a high school principal, coaches, and a district athletic director over 2 high schools. I know how much the gate and concession stand funds all your programs throughout your extracurricular activities. So this will be a one way to, if we don't want them to fold and have to cut sports because they can't afford it. So if a limitation of fans come or no fans are allowed to come to the ball games, which is possible because what they're talking about on NCAA right now, for the next couple of weeks, they may be dropping more college football. They may not be here. So we're just coming up with a plan if we're allowed to have something. We want the fans to see it, but we also want to try to give back some to the high school so they don't have to cut sports next year just to fund a certain amount. We want to help all the kids. So I'm just going to, any questions on that scenario? People are used to the free, but we're not going to be able to fund sports if we don't do this route, if the fans can't be there. So that's kind of an idea. And plus it's cheaper for, if we don't have fans, but it'll be cheaper to watch it that way than we're going 4 games a week. So.
Sound like a great option.
Does.
Okay.
All right. Is that all for you at the moment, Mr. Burrow?
I have another one, but I'll wait till we get to it on the Thursday agenda. It's been real short. It's good news instead of bad news, but it's good news.
Okay. All right. So I guess it's still back to you. Consider approval of June 30th, 20 special call board meeting.
I recommend we approve. I recommend we approve it whenever you're all ready.
Does anyone need to look over it anymore, or
I'm ready.
you're good? All right.
I love your.
Thank you.
It looks good.
Right.
Thank you. You got that bone stuff.
Is everyone ready to vote on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Be fine.
All righty. Mr. Burrow said he's fine with it. So do I have a motion to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Riggs,
Second, Ms. Sutton.
Ms. Sutton, thank you. Okay, all in favor say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No? Okay, 5-0. All righty, and then next is approve amended school calendar. Mr. Burrow, you have any more comments on that?
As I explained in the superintendent's comment, the reason why I recommend that we approve the amended school calendar August 26th to start the variable school calendar, and it's when students start. It's August 26th.
All right, heard the recommendation. Have a motion?
Motion. Bump it.
Thank you. All right, I have a second.
Second.
All right, Mr. Howard, thank you. No other discussion, I'll signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? 5-0 again, thank you. And let's see, Mr. Burrow, you want to go over the calendar, the agenda?
Sure.
Thursday?
Basically, we approved these minutes, and we went over the MCPS reopening plan with you during the superintendent's comment, give you an overview. If you have any more questions before that time, you can pull it out and ask. Also, we are in the process of getting information where we thought we were going to have to spend 70. We're only going to spend around 30. The engineering virtual class program. What I like about this, if we have virtual academy and we have in-person, if something happens, we have to go full force, what used to be called NTI, we're going to call it distance learning now because it's going to be different in the past. NTI will be named for one thing. If we have a snow day during the school year, that's NTI. If we all have to go home because of COVID, it's going to be called distance learning. And things have changed. It's not going to be like we did in the past. Now we'll have a program with unlimited seats for our kids through this Edgenuity, like the virtual academy. If we go in person and have to go to all full distance learning, everybody will have a way to use an online platform. So that's what that part is. And this is something David and I have discussed. And we needed to do that because it was just thrown in for 9 weeks and not having anything really. The teachers had to come up with something on their own. It's not fair to them. So we needed a platform for this year because of the uncertainty of being full distance remote learning.
Do you think that this would be closer to regular classroom than like our NTI? I guess you do.
And also this will be used in our alternative center. This program will be the same one now. It'd be cheaper. It was $1,000 a seat. What we had, this is going to be $20 a seat. So this was going to cost save us, be able to have everybody have that same platform. Jody, do you mind speaking up? Because you and Laura Beth have been watching the videos. Do you mind talking to them about something, what you've been seeing?
Yes, we had a call this morning and he showed us one lesson on the Edgenuity platform. There's a couple platforms we're looking at and we're trying to figure out what is the best instructional platform that would be the most engaging for students. The one we were looking at today, he showed us it had an actual screen in the corner, almost like where I'm seeing each of you right now on my screen, that had a teacher actually providing instruction, while it showed a whiteboard, almost like where we're seeing the board agenda on our screen right now. And it was them actually graphing. It was an Algebra 1 lesson, and they were graphing an equation, and it had the teacher, a live teacher. Of course, it's recorded, but it's a human, not a graphic, a live teacher in the corner explaining and giving an instructional lesson, and then using the whiteboard. So it would be very much like being in a classroom with a teacher with very detailed instruction, but they can go back and replay the video if they don't get the information the first time. So we're looking at the different ways. There's different ways it's presented. So we're trying to find something that will be like a classroom experience for a student, so they feel that they have all the resources they need and they're engaged, and it's not just them reading nonstop. We don't want them to have to just read everything. We want them to be able to have some audio and some visual to go along with that, so that they're having, to keep a student engaged and interested, you have to change things up a little bit. So just like our teachers do in a classroom every day. So we're trying to find something that has that in it so the student will stay engaged, but we'll also then have that virtual teacher from our district assigned to the student, who will be communicating with them and checking on their progress and being there to support them if they need help or interventions and have questions, and monitoring their progress. So they're going to have the live teacher certified staff from our district, but they're also going to have then that resource. So the lesson I was looking at today was an Algebra 1 lesson. We haven't seen all content areas at this point, but we're looking in and just trying to look for those things that will be the correct curriculum with the correct standards of what our students need, but also be engaging and student and teacher friendly.
Well,
Does that answer what I asked?
if you were talking about algebra, I think I would need the repeat probably several times on it. Thank you very much. I'm glad that sounds good. Like I said, it'd be engaging for the students.
That's our goal, is to have something the students will be able to engage in and learn from at the same time.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Brackett.
And Shannon, emergency certificates?
Yes. The Educational Professional Standards Board requires every person that is in front of students teaching to have a certificate. So even our substitutes, if they do not have a teaching certificate, then they have to apply for an emergency certificate through the Educational Professional Standards Board. And in that application, we have to put the board number saying that you approved, and say it's okay to have someone substitute that has an emergency certificate. So I'm just requesting a number of seats that we can apply for substitutes to have emergency substitute teaching certificates. And we're asking for, I think I had 50 on my list that I have, because last year I think we used 46. And so I wanted to just kind of give myself a little bit of a cushion.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll have the payroll schedule for you to approve on Thursday. It just tells the dates when everybody gets paid. And August 15th will be on there. So for the new variable. The district in-district transfers, as I said in the past, I'm going to let Ashley talk, but normally I'm just going to go ahead and say We know as a superintendent and Ashley as DPP, we have to follow your policy. He's going to read the policy. If the child doesn't fit in the policy, we have to recommend not to allow it. And that's why we've been looking at it and been working on. I think you have the in-district transfer request. We don't put names on it because of its confidentiality. There's a number 1 and 2. I think there's only 2. Is that right, Mr. Troutman?
Yes, sir, that is correct. There are 2.
Okay. You want to go through the first one, and I think it's a teacher's employee child. Is that correct?
That is correct. Application number 1, it's numbered up in the top left-hand corner, is a student that lives in the school district of Calhoun, but the parent teaches at Livermore. Per your policy, that is allowed as long as it meets the 5 things under the exceptions. It talks about making sure it doesn't cause overcrowding in that school. It talks about, that student still can't have any major disciplinary infractions, has to have good attendance. And I do know that the principal at Livermore has already signed off on this, stating that they were fine with accepting that child. So number 1 actually falls in the category of meeting your policy. Application number 2, she gives a rationale on why she wants her child to attend school at Calhoun. This student lives in the Livermore School District. As you can see, the rationale talks about she works in the Calhoun area, and she has child care for that student in the Calhoun area. But in regards to your policy, the only 2 reasons a request would be changed does not fall underneath that.
Okay.
And just only way that I would ever recommend to go against your policy is if a sibling is already at another school, elementary school, and don't like splitting up siblings at different schools. And with the very number 1, there is a sibling that went with the mom, I think last year or year before, I don't remember. So the employee. So we're just asking the sibling to go there. That would be that one fits in our category.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burrow.
Mm-hmm. And the next one, the grant assurances, is something I got to do every year. I have to check off on GMAP. It's a state thing, and it assures that we're going to use the money that we're given appropriately. There's a whole bunch of them, but we just have, the board has to prove that you trust that and we're going to use the money, federal money, state money, and everything like we're supposed to.
Very good.
That's that part. And the last one, and here's the good news I was going to say. From the school safety and school-based health care provider, it's a thing, an email we just got here, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago, and we're talking to David and Sherry today. McLean County will be receiving $43,095 for the allocation of an additional school-based mental health care provider.
Oh, good.
So basically, I'm putting on the agenda for Thursday for you to approve a new district mental health position. This is going to focus on the elementary, but we are going to make it a district position in case we need some help everywhere.
Good. Good.
We're going to basically post it as a licensed social worker or guidance counselor. So we're getting money because the mental health issue. We've received this, and this is how we're going to roll with it.
Is this just for 1 year, or is it?
Yeah, right now, it'll be for 1 year. Yes.
Okay. All right.
That would be, but for us to, you would have to prove it to be on the salary schedule. So that's why I need to prove this position.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Of course, you have anything else? Everyone can take them home and look at them. And so that's all you have, Mr. Burrow?
All I have, yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything? Well, if not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Riggs, and who was second?
Miss Joyce.
Ms. Joyce? All right. All in favor, say yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Opposed? 5-0 for adjournment. Thank y'all.